Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Louisville. Hope you're enjoying yourselves so far. We are really proud in our city to welcome all of you guys to the greatest 2 minutes in sports. As my friend Dale Roman says, from the horse trainer's perspective, what's so exciting about Derby Week is that on Saturday, somebody's life is going to change, unless you're Bob Baffert. Bob, you're wearing it well. Look, I know this is a competitive group, okay? I'm a competitive guy, so I recognize competitive people when I talk to you guys throughout this week. But props are due to Bob. It's hard to do sometimes with the second Triple Crown in 4 years, as was mentioned, after a 37-year gap. And Justify made Bob second in Derby wins to Ben Jones and earned him a spot alongside the legendary trainer Sonny Jim Fitzsimmons as the only trainers with 2 Triple Crown winners. And you probably figured out that Ben and Sonny Jim don't have 3 horses in Derby 145. It really doesn't seem fair, does it? But that's the way it is. And Bob, thank you for the way you carry yourself throughout this sport. I was born in Louisville. I haven't lived here my whole life, but yeah, let's hear it for Bob Baffert there. Bob? I mean, what's so thrilling about the Derby, and I'm a lifelong Louisvillian, is that whoever wins, we get to watch history being made. And it's really true each and every year. And this is an industry that, with all due love, I'm putting forth to you guys, is made up of a lot of characters throughout the entire industry. And you all make this week here really one of the greatest spectacles that the whole world sees. The Derby has grown into a major global bucket list item. And I think one of the reasons is, I mean, I don't know about you all, but I feel like I'm a kid waiting to see what Santa Claus is going to bring me. That's what Derby makes me feel like every year. The anticipation of what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to happen, but I know it's going to be great. And I know there's just going to be so much joy and excitement coming for the first Saturday in May. There's just not many things in life you can create that way. And yet here we are on the first Saturday of May, making it happen each and every year. The Derby is fantastic for the magic that it creates in Louisville. Now, I do like the fact that the economic impact of this is about $400 million a year for our city and growing. That's a good thing. Then it showcases our city and our state all around the world. I guarantee you any mayor in any city in any country would love to be the mayor of Louisville for the week of the Kentucky Derby. And the Derby, as you all know, keeps getting bigger and bigger every year. It is, I call it, America's Rite of Spring, the world's biggest fashion show, and certainly a celebration of humanity all in one, and you can't get it anywhere else. And the track at Churchill Downs, it keeps improving. The folks at Churchill, their emphasis now on customer service, on investing in the track, it is no secret that the resources and emphasis they've put on that in recent history has really resulted in what I believe is the undisputed cathedral of thoroughbred racing at Churchill Downs. So hats off to Churchill Downs. I'd like for you all to be ambassadors for our city as well. I hope you're noticing about $14 billion of investment all throughout our city these past few years, and I hope you've noticed how Louisville is growing on the global stage as well. And I hope that you feel the love from my office and all the citizens of Louisville. When they see you all here in our city, they just want to know how they can help you have a better time. It's the unpredictable nature of the Derby. That's a huge part, I think, of what makes this thrilling, whether it's the weather, whether it's the horses, whether it's the jockeys, whether it's the trainers. And it is worth the thousands and tens of thousands of hours that you all have put in to getting to the first Saturday in May. And I think it's the stories from each and every one of y'all that make this such an attention-grabbing sport all around the world. This quote really sums it up. Quote, "In the world of thoroughbred racing, and perhaps the realm of American sport, there is no dream that is more grand or more alluring than a victory in the Kentucky Derby." Now, who said that? Those are the words of the late John Asher. John was a great friend of mine, and I know a great friend to virtually everyone here, and I can say also to virtually everyone that he met. One of our city values is compassion, the recognition that we're all in this together, our diversity makes us strong. John Asher was a Triple Crown winner for compassion. And I don't know if you all know that are in the industry, John was as well known in Louisville for his kindness and his giving heart as he was for being the voice of Churchill Downs and the voice of thoroughbred racing. So John was on almost every nonprofit board. If there was somebody in the city that needed a help, John was there very quietly, just taking care of business. That's who he was. And anytime I want to talk about John, I want people to remember that he would say, or Muhammad Ali would say here from Louisville, not everybody's going to be the heavyweight champion of the world, but everybody can help somebody. And that was John Asher's mantra as well. I hope you all, before you leave town, take a ride down John Asher Way. So yesterday, I was proud to be part of the ceremony where we named part of Central Avenue in front of Churchill Downs for John. His wife Dee was there, his daughter Heather was there, his brother Tim was there. And it's one of these things that we've all got enough birthdays on us in this room that it's really sad when people you love pass. And then sometimes it's really beautiful when we celebrate their lives as well. And that's what happened yesterday when we made Central Avenue John S. Asher Way. So be sure to check it out. What is it about horse racing? Why do people love it? I mean, it stirs something deep in the human spirit. It's just something fundamental when we as people watch these beautiful animals run. It's something in our core that genetically we know is who we are. The history behind it is alluring. The original Olympics in ancient Greece featured horse racing. The first thoroughbred track in this part of the world was built on Long Island in 1665. Churchill Downs opened in 1875. Its founder was Colonel Meriwether Lewis Clark, the grandson of General William Clark of the famed Lewis and Clark expedition that took off here from our city. Colonel Clark wanted to recreate the kind of grand racing events he'd seen in Europe in his hometown, so he leased 80 acres from his uncles, John and Henry Churchill, and created the Kentucky Oaks and the Kentucky Derby. Colonel Clark used roses as decorations at post-Derby parties, and they eventually and beautifully became part of the celebration for the winning horses and the jockey. Mint juleps also were part of the culture of the race from the beginning, and big, elaborate ladies' hats as well. The Derby was designed to be a major spectacle around a horse race, and boy, did he do a good job. The numbers tell the story of how much the Derby has grown. Our first winner, Aristides, he won that first Derby in 2 minutes and 37 seconds, now over 1.5 miles. The crowd was 10,000 people. Today, 170,000 on Derby Saturday. The purse was about $3 grand. Today, $3 million. The winning trainer was a former slave, Ansel Williamson, and the jockey was another African-American, Oliver Lewis. In fact, 13 of the 50 jockeys in that first race were African-Americans. So in 144 years, through world wars, Prohibition, the Depression, the Great Flood in Louisville of 1937, Louisville has never missed a Derby, and we never will. You know, when people think about Kentucky from around the world, they think about thoroughbred horse races. They think about Muhammad Ali. They also think about bourbon. You all probably know that 95% of the world's bourbon comes from Kentucky. The other 5% is counterfeit. Stay away from it. So bourbon and thoroughbred racing are part of what makes Louisville, Louisville, and Kentucky, Kentucky. And we created something called bourbonism, bourbon and local food tourism. We're experiencing tremendous growth in our city, people coming from all over the world, and it's really just getting started. Bourbon only has 15% the global market share of Scotch, so we're going to continue to grow here. So if bourbon was a thoroughbred, it would be just a few lengths out of the starting gate. So we like that here in our city. So I really believe in racing. I believe in the future of racing. And yes, we all know there's some challenges that we have right now. But you all win through it. You're resourceful people. To win in this business like you guys have, you got to be an entrepreneur and you got to be scrappy. We got to get through it because people will always be compelled by the sight of these magnificent animals ridden by incredible athletes trained by brilliant, dedicated professionals. And that's why we're so blessed to have every year the Kentucky Derby in our city. And that's only possible because of you all. I want to say thank you so much. You've devoted your lives and careers to really something that's kind of unusual. You usually start 4, 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. Most people aren't crazy enough to do that. But something gets in your blood and gets in your spirit where you could not imagine doing anything else. And you do that so that you can show up here in Louisville, Kentucky on the first Saturday of May and see what's going to happen. And in 2 minutes, we're going to know. Whatever happens on Saturday, I want to say congratulations to each and every one of you. It's a magnificent feat just to be in the Kentucky Derby. And I want to thank you for making our city here, the great city of Louisville, the center of the world's attention every spring. And thank you for making the Kentucky Derby the greatest 2 minutes in sports. As John Asher would say, John would say if he was here, only 4 more days to Kentucky Derby, 1:45. So thank you, John, and thank you all for being here tonight. God bless.